Hi everybody, Renee Iveson here, and I'm showing you today a origami bow tutorial. It's a little embellishment I like to make. I've started off with a 6x6 piece of paper and some scissors. They're the basic tools that you'll need to create this little bow. I've used the Fancy Pants BU range, and it's just the red one that I've used. The first step that you do is you're folding it in half, and you can use a scorer if you've got one, or a boning tool, whatever you like. I just prefer to do it by hand. So you're folding it in half the other way, and make sure that you fold it back on itself, and you'll get nice flexibility of the paper, and it'll be easier to create your bow. The next step is to fold it into triangles, and in triangles the other way. So you've basically folded it in half, crossways, up and down, and diagonally. Right, now the fun begins. Step 2, what we've got to do is tuck in the little corners, and we're creating this little square, but as a diamond from the top. You can see that I've just tucked in both those sides, folded them in, and created that little shape there. So once you've got this, you've got your basic starting point for the next step, and we're just folding the top down. So where the center of the paper, where everything's joined, we just fold that down, as you can see there, and then just fold it back the other way, just again to get nice flexibility of the paper. And make sure you do this one nice and sharp, because this is going to create the center of your bow later on, and the sort of part where everything stems from. So step 4, open it right up. And now I made a mistake the first time that I did this, so you've got to make sure that you've folded it correctly to get the right shape. So I've just pinched the paper here, because the Fancy Pants paper is quite thick. If you're using thinner paper, you need to be careful, because it will tear quite easily when you get to this step. So creating that little square, you just tuck it in and then fold it back into that shape that you had before. So you're just tucking that top bit in and creating it back into that sort of diamond square shape. Step 5 is quite simple. We're just taking the top again from that point, and you're folding it in using the center crease there as a guide. So we're doing that on both sides, and I've just used one as my first fold, and then the second one that I'm doing, I just match it up. So that center crease down the middle is my guideline to fold in those two pieces. And then simply turn it over, and you're using that guide again and just doing the exact same thing on the opposite side. Just make sure those creases are nice and sharp, because you'll see when you open up the next step, the sharper the creases, the better it holds together. So then you simply just open it up, and those creases that you've made, hold it together, and then you'll have the center, and I've just sort of flattened the center down. This one that I've done here on the tutorial is a little bit smaller center, so sometimes the center is slightly bigger and it'll sit flatter easier. So you'll have those little bits that'll be like tucked in a little bit. So step 6, we're getting our scissors ready, and we're going to snip along those folds. So you're cutting from the edge of the paper into the center where the fold stops. So we're cutting all 4 of them there with your scissors. I've just used these fabric scissors because they've got nice long blades, and you can just snip quite easily and they're sharp, but any scissors will do. And it doesn't matter if it's not a really neat cut, because all these pieces are going to be hidden, but you just need to make sure that you cut it from the edge to the end of the fold there. And just repeat the process with all 4 of those seams. Okay, step 7, we're just taking one of those flaps that we've created and folding it down to meet the bottom one. Just press it down and we're going to start to create the bow. So the outside edge is what we're lining up with that center seam there. So you're putting the outside edge in, creating like a little sail-y triangle there, and doing the same on the other side. The outside edge lining up with that center seam. And then we're simply just flipping over those pieces and repeating the process exactly the same on the other side. Outside edge, line it up with the center seam. You can see with this one, I've actually not got it 100%, I think on this side that I'm doing right now, but it still works out. So even if you feel like it's slightly out, just keep going because the end result, you won't be able to see it. Just make sure those folds are nice and sharp, and you'll have the startings of the bow. You can see how it's coming together quite easily now. Step 8, we're getting the scissors back again, and we're snipping again down those 2 flaps, just holding them together so they're even, and snipping from that corner right to the center. Now you don't have to cut off those flaps, but if you're using it for scrapbooking or a card, it sort of sits flatter if those aren't on there when you fold it. So I've just snipped them completely off. It doesn't affect the end result, it just makes it sort of sit a bit flatter. Now you're taking from the center where you've made that cut, you simply just fold it in. So it'll be on a diagonal from the center, and you'll end up with a little tab hanging off the edge, but don't worry because that's going to be snipped off. So just repeat the process on the other side, and then with the opposite side, just fold it in. You can see the same thing again. Again, when I've done mine, it's not 100% even, but it doesn't affect the end result. So if it's slightly out, it doesn't matter. You'll end up with that little tab hanging off. Now step 9 is just simply to make a little lizard tongue cut and snip off those 2 ends. So if you really like a nice even look, you can use that, simply take the bit that you've cut off your first one and use it as a template, flip it over and use it as a template on the other side, and you'll get it 100% even. I like to do it just by eye, and I don't think you can really tell that much if it's not 100% even, but I know that lots of ladies like to use it and like to get their work 100% perfect. I've simply just gone in and cut off the excess. Again, just makes it easier when you're applying it to the front of a card or if you're using it on your layout. Now step 10, you're simply just folding those pointy ends, sort of manipulate the paper, and you're tucking it in underneath that center, into that little square you've got in the center. And to secure it, you can put a little bit of glue or hot glue, and it will secure and hold it in place, but for my purposes it stays pretty well just as is. And that's it. That's simple, easy, cute little embellishment that'll match any of your layouts. Hope you've liked this tutorial. You can check out some more of my work at Nay and Jilly at Blogspot. Thanks for watching.